So, yes, T Mobile did take my question during the earnings call for those of you who saw it. And again, it was a great quarter for them. Actually, a very, very big, great outlook for the rest of the year. They pretty much increased their 2020 outlook guidance across the board for the year. So they gave guidance at the fourth quarter earnings for 2022, and they pretty much increased that across the board at the earnings earlier this morning. So the reason I asked the question that I asked, and I'm actually glad they took it, and actually Neville actually answered the question, was because they stated that as it stands today, they can effectively, according to their model, compete for 30% of rural customers or the rural population. And competitively meaning network competes or is either better, and they have retail distribution. So 30% of that footprint, they are now saying they can effectively compete in, and they're growing and taking share. And then they said by the end of the year, that would increase by another 20%. So effectively, by the end of 2022, T-Mobile is going to be able to compete effectively for 50% of the rural population. So I was sitting there and I was saying to myself, where's this growth coming from? How much network are you laying to get to that 50% by the end of the year? Of course, they want to get to 100%, but that's going to take a little time. So I asked the question, to kind of sum it up, where are you on building out those 10,000 new sites? And Neville answered it. He says they're about 25 to 30% of the way. So several thousand sites have been put in the ground, about 1/3 of the way for those 10,000 new sites. So they're gaining traction on that raw geographical expansion, as I call it. And I'm not talking about within the footprint where they already compete. I'm talking about putting up brand new sites where they've never had service before. And that was the segment that they've really never competed in, was rural United States. They've never competed in that segment strongly, and they're now growing that footprint quite rapidly. So they're about 25% of the way now. That'll increase by the end of the year, of course. It has to. If they go from 30% served to 50% competitively, according to their model, they kind of gave us a little bit of that secret sauce, as they call it, as to how they're managing this and how they're running it. According to their model, and it's the same model that they used to grow and gain share in the top 100 markets, they can effectively compete for 50% of the rural population by the end of this year. And again, competitively, that means they have a competitive product in the network, or better, faster with N41 in those parts, and they have some type of retail distribution. Walmart, Best Buy, probably not, but probably a Walmart or an actual store. That's what they're saying on this earnings call. And then they said they're growing the share. They're at about, I think, 15% now, or 16 is what John Fryer said when he got the question. So again, that's big, and that's what led me to ask that question, because no analyst had questioned T-Mobile on the raw coverage expansion. All we hear is 2.5, which we know 2.5 is going on the existing footprint. So that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear, are you effectively upping your square mileage? I wish I could have expanded that a bit more, but there's only so much time during the earnings call, because I would have asked him effectively, how much are you going to grow the square mileage total, right? I think the last time they updated that was like 2019, and they said they're effectively covering around 2.5 million square miles of the United States geographical footprint. So those extra 10,000 new sites, what is that going to get them to? 2.6, 2.7, 2.8. That's kind of where I wanted to go with that. But regardless of what happened, they took my question. We got an answer, 25% of the way of the 10,000. They'll probably get a good amount of that done this year, but the largest chunk, I believe, is going to be next year, because it takes 2 to 3 years for probably a good amount of those permits to get approved. Like the co-locations probably will be take a bit less, but the ones where they have to go and they have to deploy 200 feet boom sites, those are the permits that are going to take the longest, and those probably won't be approved until 23. I mean, those are sites that they're building from scratch, where there's no other carrier that they're going to co-locate on. There's going to have to be, probably, depending, but they're going to have to put some kind of fiber, microwave backhaul, whatever it is, they got to put it up, and it's going to take a bit of time from the approval side of things. And then, of course, they got to get contractors and everything going there too. So what does that mean? The rural footprint is taking priority. That's what that's telling me. And in one or two ways, right? You expand the rural footprint, now you can compete in that environment that you've never competed in. It brings upside. So now you can penetrate that area with home broadband, and you can also convert mobility. I think that's a big segment still. They didn't really, I don't recall them saying a percentage, but there is probably quite a high percentage of conversions happening. Maybe 30%. They said they reached 30% during the beta, where they said, okay, we penetrated these households and we got 30% of them to go to convert to wireless. I think that's going to be a big source of growth in the rural environment too. A lot of people are going to be like, well, if this works, this home internet works, and the pricing's good, then wireless must be good too. That's kind of how the consumer will think about it, and that's how T-Mobile thinks the consumer thinks about it. So that's where the growth is right now. I told you guys in previous videos, the top 100 markets, T-Mobile has fair share. In the top 50, they have leading share. So there's not much more to pull from, and it's getting very saturated and tight, right? There's more MVNOs coming online, more cable players. T-Mobile's trying to get some wholesale agreements there. Not a lot. They're getting a few. They did state that they got Altice now. They extended the agreement with Google Fi. So they got that going for themselves. But the real growth right now for the company is the upside. It's home broadband. It's rural United States. That's where they can effectively compete and actually gain upside. And then business and government. They said right now they're running test trials with like 20 plus companies. And that's probably not baked in. That's probably all upside. So when those announcements come out, some of those are going to be big. I've already been told that. Some of them are going to be pretty big companies that they're going to announce, to where you would be like, oh, what? They went with T-Mobile? You probably would have that kind of response to it. So let me know what you think about this. Again, there's still a lot that T-Mobile has to fix. They got to fix the security. That has to get better. They got to get stronger on the financials too. They're not necessarily making the same type of profit just yet, right? They grew their free cash flow by 26% to about to add an additional 1.6 billion. They want to get to around 18 billion of free cash flow by about 2025. So they're in a good position right now. They're in a really good position to further up the growth, right? They raised the CapEx by 100 million. They did add 300,000 to the guidance. So we'll see what happens. This was an interesting earnings week. The churn is lowering. This probably signals that Q2 maybe we'll see them back to normal levels on churn, maybe magenta levels. And then after that, I mean, the growth is going to be pretty big. And they really alluded to that by raising the postpaid guidance by another 300,000. They're telling us they're getting ready to grow in a big way. So again, let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. Look forward to reading your comments. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow my social media outlets for more updates and interactions. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.